I saw what you did. Explain yourself right now.
The events leading up to the civil rights movement are crucial to understanding the systemic issues we still face today.
I understand why you might think that, but I promise you, I didn't do anything wrong. I'm telling the truth.
You know the rules about respecting this classroom. Pick up that chair immediately and sit down. I will not tolerate this disruption any longer. You understand me?
Listen very carefully. Your future here depends entirely on your silence.
Malik Johnson knew the sound of a paper cut before it happened. The dry rasp of pages sliding. The sharp inhale a room takes when trouble chooses a target. Room 214 smelled like marker ink and old carpet. Outside, rain clicked against the windows in nervous little beats. Ms. Hartwell walked the aisles with essays in her hands, calling out grades like names at a funeral. A minus, B+, good effort. When she reached Malik, she stopped. Her fingers pinched his paper as if it were dirty. Stand up, she said. Malik's chair legs squealed. 40 faces lifted. His heart thudded once, hard. What's going on? He asked, keeping his voice low. Ms. Hartwell raised his essay, so the class could see the red stamp across the top. Plagiarized. Then she smiled, calm as authority. We don't reward shortcuts. I didn't. You don't get to argue, she said, and the words landed like a door locking. People like you always think rules are negotiable. The air changed. Malik felt it. How silence can become permission. Ava Chen's hand hovered halfway up, then dropped. Jamal stared at his desk, like looking up might make him next. Malik's throat burned. You're accusing me in front of everyone. Ms. Hartwell leaned closer, voice sweet. This is a learning moment. Then she lowered her tone just for him, so only he could hear the blade in it. One more outburst, and I'll make sure you never step foot in an honors class again. The bell rang, but no one moved. And when Malik finally looked toward the door, he saw the principal standing there beside the school resource officer, watching him like the decision had already been made. Malik Johnson felt the fluorescent lights like a spotlight. Ms. Hartwell stood at the front of room 214, tapping a stack of essays against her palm. Grades are in, she said. Let's see who actually did the work. Paper slid onto desks. A's, B's, a few relieved laughs. Malik waited, calm on the outside, counting his breaths like Coach had taught him. Ms. Hartwell stopped at his desk. She didn't hand him anything. She held his essay above the tabletop. In thick red ink, 0, academic dishonesty. Malik's mouth went dry. Ms. Hartwell, that has to be wrong. Her smile stayed in place. No. What's wrong is thinking I wouldn't notice. The room went silent. Malik could hear the soft buzz of the projector and someone's sneaker rubbing the floor. You're saying I cheated? He asked. I'm saying, she replied, loud enough for everyone, that your writing doesn't match your usual level. Ava Chen's eyes widened from the front row. Jamal's knee bumped Malik's under the desk, a warning. Malik kept his voice steady. My usual level is honors. I have my drafts. Ms. Hartwell's gaze flicked over him. Hoodie, dark hands, the way he held his pen, then back to his face. Don't play smart with me. Ava whispered, that's not fair. Ms. Hartwell snapped, excuse me? Ava shrank back. Nothing. Ms. Hartwell placed the paper on Malik's desk like she was setting down a citation. Mr. Johnson, stay after. Can we talk now? Malik asked. You're humiliating me. Accountability is public, she said, and turned away. Textbooks, page 380. The lesson moved on, but Malik didn't. He stared at the red 0 until it blurred into a wound. He'd stayed up until 2, building paragraphs the way he built bridges in his head. Measure, support, strength. He thought about his mother's double shift at the hospital cafeteria. He thought about the scholarship counselor saying, "Grades, open doors." Ms. Hartwell lectured about Reconstruction. Order, laws, control. Every few minutes her eyes cut to Malik, checking if he'd learned something else. The bell rang. Chairs scraped. The class poured out. Ava lingered at Malik's desk. "I saw you writing in study hall," she whispered. "You didn't cheat." "Then say it," Malik said. Ava glanced at Ms. Hartwell, who waited by the door with her arms crossed. "She won't listen to me." Jamal shoved books into his bag. "Bro, go to guidance." "Mr. Alvarez." "Anybody." Ms. Hartwell called, "Mr. Johnson." "Now." The last student left. Ms. Hartwell shut the door with a firm click. "Sit," she said. Malik stayed standing. "Why did you give me a 0? She walked to her desk and opened a folder. "Because I know what authentic looks like. It's my work." Ms. Hartwell sighed. "Malik, you're bright. Bright kids still make bad choices." "I didn't," he said. "Ask me questions. Let me explain my sources." She slid a printed article across the desk, highlighted in yellow. "Look familiar?" Malik scanned it. "No, that's not my wording." "I ran your essay through the checker," she said. "It flagged similarities." "Similarities of facts?" Malik asked. "History is facts." Her eyes narrowed. "Don't get cute." Malik swallowed heat. "My scholarship application is due next month." Ms. Hartwell leaned back. "Then you should have protected your future." "I did," Malik said. "That's why I worked." For the first time, her smile dropped. "Watch your tone." "What tone?" Malik's hands trembled, and he hated that she could see it. "I'm defending myself." "You're defensive because you're guilty," she said. "Here's what happens. You accept the 0, you attend integrity training, and you stop making this a bigger issue than it needs to be." "You did this in front of everyone," Malik said. "You call me a liar in front of everyone." Ms. Hartwell's voice softened, almost gentle. "Malik, schools have standards. If we let things slide, it becomes chaos." He heard what she didn't say. Some people slide. Some people get dragged. Malik pulled out a spiral notebook and flipped to his outline, dates in the margins, quotes copied by hand. "These are my notes. You can see I built the essay." She didn't look. Notes can be fabricated. Malik blinked hard. "Why are you doing this?" Ms. Hartwell stood. "Because I'm not going to be fooled." Something in him went quiet, then hard. "You're not trying to teach," Malik said. "You're trying to break me." Her face flashed. "Get out. Go to the office. Tell them you're refusing to comply." Malik picked up his essay like it was evidence. "I'm going," he said, "and I'm asking for an investigation." She gave a short laugh. "Good luck." The hallway outside was empty, echoing. Malik's phone buzzed as he walked. "Unknown number. Don't let her erase you. I recorded everything." Malik stopped cold, staring at the message while the school's quiet pressing around him. He typed back with shaking thumbs. "Who is this?" The reply came fast. "Someone who's tired." Malik's pulse hammered. "Where are you?" "Library stairwell." 5 minutes. "Don't bring her." Malik looked toward the office door at the end of the corridor, the glass reflecting his face like a stranger's. His mother's voice rose in his memory. "Keep your head down and get home safe." He inhaled, tasting metal, then turned the other way. "Okay," he whispered to no one. "Show me, and tell me what you saw, please." Malik found Ava in the library's stairwell, sitting on the cold concrete step with her phone clutched in both hands like it might disappear. The building hummed around them. Air vents, distant lockers, the low murmur of students who didn't know anything had cracked yet. "You came," she said. "Yeah," Malik replied. "You said you recorded it." Ava nodded and unlocked her phone. "I didn't mean to. I was taking notes for the test, and I forgot to stop the audio app. Then she started talking, and She swallowed. "I didn't stop it." She pressed play. Ms. Hartwell's voice filled the stairwell, crisp and unmistakable. "People like you always think rules are negotiable." Then quieter, sharper. "One more outburst, and I'll make sure you never step foot in an honors class again." Malik closed his eyes. Hearing it again felt worse. like the moment had teeth now. You hear it, right? Ava asked. That wasn't just about an essay. No, Malik said. It wasn't. Ava hesitated. I'm scared. I know, he said. You don't have to do anything. But if I don't, she said, voice trembling, she gets to keep doing it. Footsteps echoed nearby. Malik gestured toward the far door. Let's move. They walked together to the guidance office. Mr. Alvarez looked up from his computer, relief and concern crossing his face at the same time. Malik, he said, I heard you were sent down. He accused me of cheating, Malik said, publicly. Mr. Alvarez winced. Sit, both of you. Ava played the recording again. Mr. Alvarez listened without interrupting, his jaw tightening with every line. This, he said finally, is serious. So you'll fix it? Malik asked. Mr. Alvarez sighed. I'll help you, but I need you to understand how this usually goes. Malik folded his arms. Tell me. The school will say this is a misunderstanding. They'll focus on process, not impact. They'll protect themselves first. That's not fair, Ava said. No, Mr. Alvarez agreed. It isn't. He picked up the phone. I'm calling Assistant Principal Klein. Miss Klein arrived 10 minutes later. Heels clicking, smile practiced. Malik, she said warmly, I hear there's been some confusion. There's no confusion, Malik said. I was accused of cheating because she decided my work was too good. Ms. Klein clasped her hands. Ms. Hartwell has high standards. So do I, Malik replied. Mr. Alvarez cleared his throat. We have an audio recording. Ms. Klein's smile stiffened. A recording? Ava spoke quietly. I recorded the class. Ms. Klein turned to her. Did you ask permission? No, Ava said. I didn't plan to. Ms. Klein nodded slowly. That could be a problem. Malik leaned forward. You're worried about that? I'm worried about procedure, Ms. Klein said, and escalation. You escalated it. Malik shot back, in front of class. Ms. Klein exhaled. Malik, let's take a breath. What outcome do you want? My grade restored, Malik said, and the accusation removed. And the way she talked to him addressed, Ava added. Ms. Klein tapped her tablet. We could offer an alternative assignment. Quietly, no formal report. So I still look guilty, Malik said. It would protect you, Ms. Klein said. Colleges don't like controversy. Mr. Alvarez's voice sharpened. Neither do students who've been wronged. Ms. Klein stood. I'll need to consult the principal. The principal didn't come. Instead, security escorted Malik to the front office to wait. The message was clear. You are now a disruption. When Malik's mother arrived, still in her scrubs, she didn't sit. She stood between Malik and the desk like a shield. My son says he was accused of cheating, Denise Johnson said. In public. Ms. Klein nodded. We're looking into it. Looking into what? Denise asked, whether you embarrass him or whether you plan to fix it. Ms. Klein chose her words carefully. We want what's best for Malik. Then start by listening. Denise said. Malik handed her the phone. She listened once, then again. When she looked up, her voice was calm and lethal. You don't get to threaten my child's future. Ms. Klein swallowed. We prefer to resolve matters internally. Denise shook her head. No, you prefer silence. The room felt smaller. Papers didn't rustle. Phones didn't ring. We're requesting Malik's full academic file. Denise said, in writing, and we're filing a formal complaint. Ms. Klein forced a smile. That's your right. Denise met Malik's eyes. You did nothing wrong. Malik believed her, but as they walked out, he felt it, the weight settling, the looks from the front desk, the sudden quiet. Behind them, doors closed softly, not slammed, closed carefully, and Malik understood something new and terrifying. This wasn't about one teacher. This was about a system that expected him to disappear politely. By Monday morning, Malik could feel it before anyone said a word. It was in the way Mr. Denton paused before handing back quizzes, eyes flicking to Malik's name like it carried a footnote. It was in the way the hallway conversations dipped when he walked past, like sound itself was learning caution. You good? Jamal asked at Malik's locker. Malik shrugged. Fine. He wasn't. Not really. But saying that felt like feeding something hungry. In chemistry, Ms. Lowell avoided calling on him altogether. When Malik raised his hand, she scanned past him, landed on someone else. Ava, she said. Ava answered, then glanced back at Malik, apology written across her face. At lunch, Malik overheard it for the first time. My mom said he got caught cheating. A sophomore whispered, not quietly enough. Another voice, yeah, honors teachers don't mess around. Malik stood up so fast his chair scraped the floor. The table went silent. Say it again, he said. The sophomore's face flushed. I didn't mean. Then don't say it, Malik replied, and walked away before his hands could decide to shake. After school, Coach Reynolds called him into the gym office. Close the door, the coach said, not unkindly. Malik did. Coach Reynolds leaned back in his chair. I heard some things. From who? Malik asked. Administration. The coach said, they say you're dealing with an integrity issue. Malik laughed once, sharp. They didn't talk to me. Coach Reynolds sighed. I'm not saying it's true. I'm saying it's there. Where? In your file. The coach said, temporary note. Pending review. Malik's chest tightened. You put something in my file without proving anything? I didn't, Coach Reynolds said. They did. And you believe them. I believe the system, the coach replied quietly. Which means for now I have to bench you. For now? Malik asked. Regionals are in 3 weeks. I know, Coach Reynolds said. I hate this. Malik stood. You're not helping. He left before the coach could answer. That night, Denise spread papers across the kitchen table. Malik watched her read emails, her jaw tightening, eyes sharp. They added a note, she said. Not a finding, a concern. That's not even real, Malik said. It's real enough to follow you, Denise replied. That's the trick. Malik rubbed his temples. They're already treating me different. They want you tired, Denise said, confused, willing to settle. Settle for what? For being quietly wrong, she said. The next day, Malik went to guidance again. Mr. Alvarez closed the door behind him. I pulled what I could, he said, lowering his voice. They shouldn't have added anything without due process. So remove it, Malik said. I can't, Mr. Alvarez replied. Only administration can. Malik laughed bitterly. So they accuse me, write it down, and I just live with it? Not if we document everything, Mr. Alvarez said. Dates, witnesses, language. Malik stared at the wall. This is crazy. Mr. Alvarez hesitated. Malik, you should know something else. What? This isn't the first time. Malik's head snapped up. What do you mean? 3 years ago, Mr. Alvarez said, another student, same teacher, same accusation. What happened? He transferred, Mr. Alvarez said, mid-semester. Malik felt something hollow open in his chest. They pushed him out. They wore him down, Mr. Alvarez corrected. There's a difference. At lunch, Ava slid into the seat across from Malik, eyes darting. My parents got a call, she whispered. From who? Assistant Principal Klein, Ava said. She said recording without permission could have consequences. Malik clenched his jaw. Did she threaten you? She smiled while she said it. Ava replied, which felt worse. I'm sorry, Malik said. Ava shook her head. Don't be. I'm not backing down. That afternoon, Malik checked his email and felt his stomach drop. Dear Malik, due to recent concerns, your recommendation letters will be delayed pending clarification. No sender name, just administration. He forwarded it to his mother. Denise arrived home late, eyes burning with a quiet fury. There's stacking pressure, she said. Classic. I feel like I'm already guilty, Malik said. Like I have to prove I deserve to exist here. Denise sat across from him. You don't. It feels like it, he replied. She reached across the table and squeezed his hand. Listen to me. This is not about your worth. This is about their fear. Fear of what? Of a record, she said. Of evidence. Of someone who won't disappear. Malik swallowed. What if they win? They won't, Denise said. But even if they try, we make noise. That evening, Jamal texted him. I heard they did this to someone before. People just stopped talking about it. Malik stared at the message, then typed back. Do you know who? The reply took a minute. Yeah, his name was Andre. Malik leaned back in his chair, heart pounding. Andre wasn't a rumor anymore. He was a pattern. And Malik realized something chilling as the weight of it settled. This file, they weren't just documenting him. They were building a quiet exit and expecting him to take it. The conference room smelled like lemon cleaner and old paper, clean enough to feel staged. Malik sat beside his mother at the long table, hands folded, back straight. Across from them, Ms. Hartwell arranged her folder with deliberate calm. Assistant Principal Klein sat slightly turned, as if already halfway out of the conversation. At the far end, a district representative Malik had never met, Mr. Collins, checked his watch. Let's begin, Ms. Klein said, smiling thinly. We're here to clear up a misunderstanding. Malik's jaw tightened. Denise spoke first. My son was accused of academic dishonesty in front of his classmates. Ms. Hartwell clasped her hands. I never accused. I raised concerns. You stamped his paper with a 0. Denise said, that's an accusation. Mr. Collins raised a hand gently. Let's keep the tone collaborative. Malik glanced at his mother. Collaborative, like he'd been invited. Ms. Hartwell leaned forward. Malik's essay displayed language and structure inconsistent with his previous work. That's false, Malik said. My grades have been consistent all year. Ms. Klein nodded. We understand this feels personal. It is personal, Malik said. You put it in my file. Mr. Collins adjusted his glasses. The note was preliminary. Preliminary to what? Denise asked. Damage. Ms. Hartwell sighed. I've taught for 20 years. I know when something isn't authentic. Malik met her eyes. You know what you expect. Her lips pressed together. I won't be spoken to like this. There it is, Denise said quietly. The moment he speaks for himself, he's disrespectful. Ms. Klein interjected. No one said that. You didn't have to, Denise replied. Mr. Collins cleared his throat. Do you have evidence supporting your claim, Malik? Denise slid her phone across the table. We do. Ms. Klein's eyes flicked to it. Is that a recording? Yes, Denise said. From the classroom. Ms. Hartwell stiffened. That's inappropriate. Is it inaccurate? Denise asked. Silence. Mr. Collins frowned. Recordings raise legal questions. So does discrimination. Denise said. Ms. Klein stood. Let's not escalate. You escalated when you threatened my son's future, Denise said evenly. Malik felt his pulse in his ears as the audio played. Ms. Hartwell's voice filled the room, measured, sharp, undeniable. People like you always think rules are negotiable. Ms. Hartwell shook her head. Context matters. Context is everything, Malik said. You said it to me. Mr. Collins stopped the audio. We'll need to review this privately. No, Denise said. You're hearing it now. Ms. Hartwell crossed her arms. I was addressing behavior. What behavior? Malik asked. Writing well. Ms. Klein sighed. Malik, you have to understand how this sounds. How it sounds? Malik replied. Like I don't belong? Ms. Hartwell's voice sharpened. I treat all students the same. That's the problem, Denise said. You don't. Mr. Collins leaned forward. Mrs. Johnson, we're not here to assign intent. Intent doesn't erase impact, Denise said. And impact is documented. Ms. Klein's smile returned brittle. Perhaps we can resolve this informally. Restore the grade. Remove the note. With conditions? Malik asked. With discretion, Ms. Klein replied. No public complaint. Denise laughed once, without humor. So silence. Mr. Collins folded his hands. We prefer to protect all parties. Who's protecting my son? Denise asked. Ms. Hartwell looked away. Malik spoke, voice steady despite the storm in his chest. You talked about standards, about authenticity. But you never asked me a single question about my work. You decided who I was before I opened my mouth. Ms. Hartwell stiffened. That's not fair. That's exactly what you said, Malik replied. People like me. The words hung there undeniable. Mr. Collins shifted in his seat. We will initiate a formal review. And in the meantime, Denise asked, The note remains, Ms. Klein said, temporarily. Malik stared at her. You're punishing me while you investigate your own mistake. Ms. Klein's voice cooled. Watch your language. Denise stood. We're done here. Mr. Collins blinked. Excuse me? You heard me. Denise said, We'll be submitting a written complaint and seeking outside counsel. Ms. Hartwell's face paled. This is unnecessary. No, Denise said. What's unnecessary is pretending this was an accident. They walked out together, Malik's legs heavy but his spine straight. In the hallway, Denise stopped and turned to him. You did everything right. Malik exhaled shakily. It didn't feel like it. It never does, she said. Behind them, the conference room door closed softly. No shouting, no apology, just adults rearranging silence. And Malik understood something chilling as they stepped into the fluorescent hall. The meeting hadn't been about truth. It had been about containment. The pressure didn't come all at once. It arrived politely, in emails that smiled while they tightened. Malik noticed it first in small exclusions. His name disappeared from the student leadership roster posted outside the main office. When he asked the secretary, she frowned apologetically. Oh, honey, that's temporary, she said. Pending review. Review of what? Malik asked. She lowered her voice. You should talk to administration. Administration didn't return his messages. In English, Ms. Hartwell avoided him completely, speaking around his desk like there was an empty chair where he sat. When he turned in homework, she set aside without comment. No feedback, no eye contact, just absence. At practice, Coach Reynolds pulled Malik aside again, rubbing his temples. I got a call, he said. From who? Malik asked. The district, the coach replied. They're asking me to document behavioral observations. Malik laughed, sharp and humorless. Of me running laps? Coach Reynolds didn't smile. They want a paper trail. So make one that's true, Malik said. I am, the coach replied quietly. But understand this, they're fishing. That night, Denise spread the latest emails across the table like a crime scene. They delayed your recommendations, she said. Again, different wording this time. Malik read the message. Due to ongoing review, all external endorsements will be postponed. They're stalling, Malik said. They're hoping deadlines pass, Denise replied. Then they'll say their hand were tied. Malik stared at the wall. It's working. At school the next day, Ava looked exhausted. She slid into the seat beside Malik in the library, eyes rimmed red. My dad wants me to delete the recording, she whispered. Malik's stomach dropped. Why? He got a call. Ava said, they said I could face disciplinary action, maybe suspension. For telling the truth? Malik asked. For recording without permission, she replied. They kept saying intent doesn't matter. Malik clenched his fists. I never wanted you hurt. Ava shook her head. They're trying to scare us separately. Mr. Alvarez joined them, glancing toward the door before sitting. They've asked him to stay out of it. Malik looked up. Asked? Mr. Alvarez smiled thinly, strongly suggested. So, what do we do? Ava asked. We document everything, Mr. Alvarez said. And we don't isolate. That afternoon, Malik received another blow. A college recruiter he'd been emailing replied curtly, given the current circumstances. We'll revisit this conversation at a later time. No explanation, just the door gently closing. Malik walked home slower than usual, the weight of it pressing between his shoulders. He felt watched, measured. Even the hallways seemed narrower, like the building was learning how to hurt him. At home, Denise was on the phone when he arrived. She covered the receiver. That was an education advocate, she whispered. She's seen this before. Malik dropped his backpack. What did she say? that schools apply pressure until families get tired. Denise said, until they choose peace over justice. And if we don't, then it gets uncomfortable, Denise replied. That evening, Jamal came over, quiet in a way Malik had never seen. I gotta tell you something, Jamal said. What? I saw them do this before, Jamal admitted. Not just Andre. Malik sat up. Who else? 2 guys in middle school, Jamal said. Different teachers. Same pattern. Notes and files. Concerns. They stopped pushing back. One moved. One just checked out. Malik swallowed. They're counting on that. Yeah, Jamal said. On you shrinking. Later, Malik lay awake, staring at the ceiling. His phone buzzed. Ava again. My parents are scared, she texted, but I saved copies. Cloud. Flash drive. Malik typed back. Thank you. The next morning, Denise filed formal record requests. Emails. Internal notes. Meeting summaries. The school acknowledged receipt and asked for a reasonable time. Reasonable for who? Malik muttered. Days passed. Then weeks. The school announced a new academic integrity initiative in the morning announcements. As the branding could bury a wound, Ms. Hartwell volunteered to lead it. That was when Malik understood the cruelty of it. They weren't just resisting accountability. They were rewriting the story while he was still in it. Denise received the first batch of records on a Friday night. She spread them out silently. What? Malik asked. She slid one email toward him. Ms. Hartwell's words stared back at him from the screen. His work is too polished to be his. We need to contain this before it becomes a bigger issue. Contain. Malik felt cold. They never doubted the essay. They doubted you, Denise said. She squeezed his hand. This pressure campaign? It means something. What? They're scared of receipts. Malik exhaled, something steady settling in his chest beneath the fear. They think I'll leave, he said. Denise met his eyes. And you won't. No, Malik said. I won't. Outside, the streetlights flickered on one by one. And for the first time since the zero appeared in red ink, Malik felt the shape of resistance forming. Not loud, not dramatic, but solid, uncontainable. The second records packet arrived on a Tuesday morning, sealed in a thick manila envelope that felt heavier than paper had any right to feel. Denise didn't open it right away. She sat on the kitchen table, poured 2 cups of coffee, and sat across from Malik like they were about to study for something that could change their lives. Ready? She asked. Malik nodded. I think so. Inside were emails, meeting notes, and attachments printed in small, unfriendly font. Denise read aloud when it mattered. Malik read everything else, jaw tightening line by line. There was again, too polished to be his. Another email followed, this one between Ms. Hartwell and Ms. Klein. We should move quickly. If this spreads, it could become a distraction. A distraction, Malik repeated. I'm a distraction. To them, Denise said, not to the truth. They kept going. A calendar invite label containment strategy. A note about managing parent response. No mention of drafts. No mention of giving Malik a chance to explain. They decided before they talked to me. Malik said quietly, yes, Denise replied. And now we can prove it. That afternoon, Malik met Mr. Alvarez after school. The counselor read the documents carefully, eyes flicking to the door every few seconds. This is bad, Mr. Alvarez said, for them. So you'll testify? Malik asked. Mr. Alvarez hesitated. If it comes to that. If, Malik pressed. I have a family, Mr. Alvarez said softly. But I also have a conscience. Malik nodded. I understand. Mr. Alvarez slid a policy manual across the desk. They violated procedure. No inquiry, no student conference, no evidence review. That note in your file? It shouldn't exist. Malik traced the page with his finger. They wrote it anyway, which makes it retaliation, Mr. Alvarez said, especially after your mother raised concerns. Malik exhaled. So what now? Now, Mr. Alvarez said, we make it formal. They drafted the complaint together. dates, quotes, attachments. Malik's name appeared in bold at the top, followed by words that felt unreal: discriminatory conduct and retaliation. When Malik hit send, his hand shook. That night, Ava called him for the first time instead of texting. "I found someone," she said. "Who?" Malik asked. "Andre," Ava replied. "I messaged him on social media. He remembers her." Malik sat up. "He answered?" "He did," Ava said. "He said he'd talk to you." Andre's voice was older than Malik expected, tired in a way that didn't belong to someone in college. "She told me my paper was too advanced," Andre said. Same words, same look. "What happened?" Malik asked. "They offered to erase it if I transferred out of honors," Andre said. "I took it. I was tired. Do you regret it?" Malik asked. There was a pause. "Every day," Andre said. "Not because of class. Because they taught me silence was survival." When the call ended, Malik sat very still. They weren't alone. The next school day, the tone shifted, subtly, unmistakably. Ms. Klein passed Malik in the hallway and didn't smile. Ms. Hartwell called in sick. Administration sent a bland email announcing an internal review process. At lunch, a girl Malik barely knew leaned over. "My cousin had her," she whispered, said she did the same thing. By the end of the week, Denise received a phone call from the district. "We're prepared to offer a resolution," the voice said. Denise put the call on speaker. "Malik's grade will be restored." The district rep continued. "The note removed. No further action." "And the teacher?" Denise asked. "Handled internally," the voice replied. "And the retaliation?" Denise pressed. "The delays? The threats to a witness?" Silence. "There is one condition," the rep said finally. "We'd require a non-disclosure agreement." Malik laughed, sharp and incredulous. "So you want us quiet?" "We want closure," the voice said. Denise ended the call. "No," she said simply. That refusal cost him sleep. It cost Malik peace. He started waking at 3 a.m, heart racing, replaying words that weren't his fault but felt carved into him anyway. He flinched when emails came in. He jumped when the office called him down, even when it was nothing. One afternoon, Mr. Alvarez slipped Malik a folded paper. "What's this?" Malik asked. "Additional documentation," Mr. Alvarez said. "I shouldn't have it, but you should." Inside was a spreadsheet: complaints, informal notes, transfers, names blurred, patterns clear. Malik looked up. "You could get fired." Mr. Alvarez met his eyes. "Then maybe they'll finally have to explain why." The local reporter called that evening. Ava had talked to her parents. Andre had agreed to be quoted anonymously. Denise set ground rules. Malik listened from the hallway, stomach twisting. When the call ended, Denise leaned her head back against the wall. "This will get louder," she said. "I know," Malik replied. "You okay with that?" Malik thought of the red zero. The whispers. The file. "I'm already carrying it," he said. "I'd rather carry it honestly." The following Monday, the school announced Ms. Hartwell had been temporarily reassigned. No explanation. No apology. Students noticed. Teachers whispered. Silence shifted from protective to suspicious. Malik stood in the hallway, watching the building breathe differently around him. Receipts did that. They changed the air. And Malik understood something important as the weight of evidence settled into place. The system hadn't expected proof. It had expected him to disappear. The night of the school board meeting, Malik felt the lights before he saw them. Harsh fluorescence reflected off the polished wood, magnifying the tension in the room. Parents, teachers, and students filed in, murmuring like the wind before a storm. Some faces were familiar, neighbors, classmates, but most were strangers with papers in hand and agendas in mind. Denise guided Malik to the front row, close enough to the podium to see the board members' expressions up close. Each one had a practiced smile, the kind that said, "We hear you, but we already know the answer." The meeting started with routine business: budget approvals, teacher recognitions, and minor policy updates. Malik counted his breaths, chest tight, trying not to let nerves betray him. Finally, The chairperson called public comment. Next speaker, please state your name and topic. Denise rose first, Malik beside her. The room seemed to lean forward. Cameras from parents' phones hummed quietly. My name is Malik Johnson, she said. And this evening, I am here to speak about my son, Malik Johnson, and the treatment he received in room 214 under Ms. Hartwell. A murmur ran through the audience. On October 3rd, Denise continued, Malik was publicly accused of academic dishonesty. This accusation was unfounded. We have emails, meeting notes, and audio recording that demonstrate bias and intimidation. She handed Malik a folder. He will read a brief excerpt. Malik stepped to the podium, hands shaking slightly. He cleared his throat. Ms. Hartwell said in front of class, people like you always think rules are negotiable. Then she added in a softer tone, one more outburst, and I'll make sure you never step foot in an honors class again. The room went silent. Board members shifted uncomfortably. Some parents whispered to each other. Those words were not about instruction, Malik said, voice steadying. They were a threat, and the school documented it in my student file, without proper review, without asking me, without following policy. A hand rose in the back. The board chair raised an eyebrow. We understand your frustration, Malik, but personnel matters are handled internally. This is not internal. Denise said, it is public because the school has a duty to students. My son's reputation, his grades, and his opportunities are at stake. The evidence is clear. Malik held up the folder. Emails show Ms. Hartwell wrote to administration that my essay was too polished to be his and that the situation needed containing. A board member cleared his throat. We cannot discuss personnel in open session, but you can see the consequences. Denise said, my son's scholarship opportunities were delayed. He was removed from leadership roles. Another student, years ago, faced the same treatment and transferred mid-year. This is a pattern, not an isolated incident. Malik's words echoed in the room. He looked out at the audience, students nodding, parents tightening grips on folders, some faces pale with recognition. I'm asking for accountability, Malik said. Not revenge, accountability. Restore my record. Ensure future students are not silenced. A reporter from a local paper scribbled notes near the back. A camera lens followed Denise as she nodded at Malik. The board chair tried to intervene. This is very serious, but there are limits to what can be discussed in this venue. Denise shook her head. Then let me be clear. Silence is not acceptable. What is documented here tonight is public record. Parents, students, and the community deserve transparency. Malik felt a shift in the air, the room's weight tipping slightly. People leaned forward. Whispers turned to questions in the back. One parent whispered, I had no idea. Finally, the chair said, we will conduct an internal review and report our findings. Denise's eyes narrowed. Internal review? That phrase doesn't restore a grade. It doesn't remove a note. It doesn't acknowledge threats made to a student in front of peers. My son deserves more than bureaucracy. Malik exhaled slowly, and more than silence. The board members exchanged glances. Ms. Hartwell, sitting near the back, avoided eye contact entirely. Her hands clutched her folder tightly. After public comment ended, Denise guided Malik back to their seat. His hands were clammy, but his chest felt lighter. Outside, the reporter approached. Can we get a statement? Denise nodded. Malik has already spoken, but the district must know we are watching. Malik turned to her. It feels surreal, like I just shouted into a void. Not a void, Denise said, a room full of people who are finally listening. Later that night, Malik lay in bed, replaying the words he had spoken. People like you always think rules are negotiable. He shivered at the memory of the classroom, the isolation, the zero on his paper. But now he understood something important. His voice mattered. The recording, the emails, Andre's story, Ava's courage, all of it mattered. The board night wasn't the end. It wasn't the vindication he had dreamed of, but it was the beginning of visibility. And visibility was a weapon. Somewhere in the shadows, Ms. Hartwell had realized her usual tactics wouldn't work this time, and Malik knew the storm wasn't over. But for the first time, he wasn't standing alone in it. As the lights dimmed in the auditorium and parents filed out, Malik felt a pulse of something unfamiliar. Control. Not over them, not yet, but over the narrative. And for the first time in weeks, he let himself imagine justice. Not revenge, not perfection, but acknowledgement. Because acknowledgement was a first step, and Malik was ready to take the next. The morning after the school board meeting, the air in the hallways felt different, heavier, yet somehow alive. Students whispered, casting glances at Malik and Denise as they walked to class. Teachers avoided eye contact, and some faces betrayed subtle guilt. The rumor mill was alive, but this time, the stories weren't about Malik's alleged dishonesty. They were about what happened in room 214. Ava met Malik at his locker, her eyes bright but tired. "People are talking," she said. "About the meeting, about the recording." Malik nodded. "I know." Some students said Ms. Hartwell looked rattled. Ava continued, like she didn't know how to respond. Malik let a small, bitter laugh escape. Good. She should feel it. At lunch, the group of students Malik had never really connected would approach him cautiously. We wanted to say we saw what happened," one whispered, "and we're sorry you had to go through alone." Malik felt the warmth of solidarity, a fragile shield against weeks of isolation. He realized the impact of his courage extended beyond himself. Others were beginning to reclaim their voices too. Meanwhile, Denise had spent the morning on calls. She had connected with a local education advocacy group, and within hours, they were drafting a press release highlighting patterns of teacher bias and administrative negligence. The story spread quietly at first, shared on neighborhood forums, social media, and parent groups. Soon, local reporters picked up the thread. By mid-afternoon, Malik's phone buzzed constantly. Notifications from anonymous students, messages of support, even texts from former classmates who had faced similar treatment. The flood was overwhelming, yet carried validation he hadn't dared to hope for. Despite the attention, not all reactions were positive. Ms. Hartwell circulated a note warning staff to avoid discussions that could inflame students. The administration sent emails urging discretion, hinting at potential disciplinary action if students shared information publicly. It was clear the school wanted to control the narrative. Denise sat with Malik that evening, reviewing the messages. "They're scared," she said. "They know people are watching. And the more they try to silence you, the louder it gets." Malik nodded, eyes scanning the screen. "It's still exhausting." "Of course it is," Denise said, "but exhaustion is the price of exposure. And exposure is what they fear most." Ava called again, her voice resolute. "I kept copies of the recording just in case. We're not backing down." Malik smiled softly. "You've been incredible." "We all have to be," Ava replied. "It's bigger than us." As the days passed, more students came forward. Anonymous accounts detailed subtle biases, microaggressions, and threats of academic repercussions. The administration's attempts to enforce silence only drew attention. Parents began attending board meetings, asking pointed questions. Local news outlets requested interviews. Malik realized that what started as a personal injustice had grown into a collective reckoning. Yet, the pressure remained. Malik still faced scrutiny in classes, subtle questioning of his work, and a lingering stigma from the zero. Scholarship committees hesitated, waiting for official documentation. Each day was a tightrope walk between asserting his rights and managing the emotional toll. One afternoon, Mr. Alvarez pulled Malik aside. "I need to be honest," he said quietly. "This will be slow, and it won't be easy. But what you're doing matters not just for you, but for every student who follows." Malik nodded, absorbing the weight of the words. "I just want to stop hurting." "Pain is part of visibility," Mr. Alvarez said, "but it's also the path to change." Denise filed additional records requests and followed up with district officials. Each response, each delay, became part of the public record. Legal counsel offered guidance, ensuring Malik and Ava were protected. Slowly, the pattern became undeniable. Ms. Hartwell's actions were not isolated incidents, but part of a systemic problem, quietly tolerated by the school. One evening, Malik reviewed messages from former students. Andre, now in college, sent a long note recounting his own experience. Reading it, Malik felt the continuity of the injustice, a lineage of silenced voices, each waiting for someone to speak up. "This is bigger than us," Malik whispered to Denise. "Yes," she agreed, "and we're just getting started." By the end of the week, the school issued an internal review statement. The wording was careful, clinical, avoiding blame while acknowledging complaints. Malik read it aloud to Denise. "We are committed to investigating all concerns and ensuring adherence to policies," he said. Denise shook her head. "They're trying to spin it as neutral, but they're scared. That's what matters." Malik leaned back, the tension in his shoulders easing slightly. The zero on his paper no longer defined him. It had become a symbol of what needed correction. The truth, supported by recordings, emails, and testimony, was now public. The school's attempts to minimize it only amplified the impact. Ava joined them in person that weekend, carrying folders of notes and printouts. "They try to intimidate me," she said, voice steady. "But look around. We're not alone." Malik smiled, gratitude and relief mixing in his chest. "We're building something bigger than fear." The night ended quietly, but the echo of voices, Malik's, Denise's, Ava's, and those of other students, lingered. Change was coming, uneven and slow, but inevitable, and Malik realized that the cost of exposure was worth it. Visibility, truth, and solidarity. The school could attempt to silence him, delay justice, or protect the teacher, but they could no longer hide the pattern. In the stillness of his room that night, Malik held his phone and replayed Ava's messages, the recordings, the emails. The weight of evidence was no longer a burden. It was a weapon. Silence had broken, and for the first time in weeks, Malik felt a quiet surge of hope. The weeks after the board meeting felt like standing in a storm that had no visible clouds, only gusts of whispers, shifting alliances, and the constant hum of tension. Malik's phone never stopped buzzing. Emails piled in his inbox, and every day the hallway seemed a little narrower, the stairs a little sharper. Yet, despite the pressure, something had changed. The story wasn't just his anymore. By midweek, the district announced the results of the internal review. Malik and Denise sat together in the living room, a stack of papers between them. Malik's hands trembled slightly as he unfolded the first page. Ms. Hartwell had been reassigned from the classroom pending disciplinary action. The language was careful, bureaucratic, but the message was unmistakable. She would no longer wield unchecked authority over students. Denise exhaled slowly. "It's finally happening." Malik didn't speak at first. The weight of the past weeks pressed on him. The zero, the whispers, the threats, the isolation. Justice didn't erase the trauma, but it carved a small, vital space for recognition. "It's not over," he said finally. "I still feel it. Every look, every sideways glance." "No," Denise agreed, "and that's fair, but it's a start." The district also reprimanded administrators who had allowed the note in Malik's file to remain without due process. A public statement emphasized adherence to policy and a commitment to equity. Malik read aloud, the words stiff but affirming. The district acknowledges procedural failures and affirms its dedication to fair treatment of all students. The moment was tempered by reality. Scholarships were reinstated, letters corrected, and Malik's zero officially removed. Still, he knew that some consequences couldn't be rewritten. The emotional toll, the sleepless nights, the anxiety that had seeped into every classroom and hallway, they lingered like shadows. Ava joined them at the kitchen table that evening, holding a folder of her own. "They didn't publicly recognize me," she said. "They're still afraid of accountability." Malik shook his head. "You were crucial. Don't let their silence diminish that." Denise added, "Sometimes the system can only be pushed this far. Beyond that, it's up to us to hold space for those who helped and to honor their courage." That weekend, Malik met Andre for the first time in person. They sat at a small cafe, two generations of students bearing similar scars. Andre looked at Malik with a solemn smile. "You did what I never could," he said. "You made them listen." I didn't back down," Malik replied. "It wasn't just you," Andre said. "It was Ava, your mom, Mr. Alvarez, the board, the community. You all made a wave they couldn't ignore." Malik thought about the zero, the emails, the recording, and the repeated warnings. The wave felt heavier than he expected, but its momentum was undeniable. Back at school, whispers had turned to quiet acknowledgement. Students offered support in small ways, a nod in the hallway, a shared textbook, quiet words in class. Malik noticed, but he also noticed a cautious restraint. Teachers still avoided overt apologies, and some parents lingered in suspicion. Change was happening, but it was slow, careful, and incomplete. One afternoon, Malik and Ava walked past the empty room 214. Sunlight slanted through the windows, dust motes floating in the air like suspended moments. Malik stopped and looked inside. "This room isn't the same," he said. Ava nodded. "Neither are we." "Yes," Malik said, "and that's what matters." By the end of the week, Denise received an unexpected call from the district. They wanted a formal statement from Malik and Ava regarding their experiences, to be included in training sessions for staff. The offer was careful, almost reluctant, but it was recognition, a small, official acknowledgement that their voices mattered. Malik hesitated. "I don't want to speak for everyone. Some people aren't ready." "You'll speak for the truth," Denise said firmly. "That's enough." Malik agreed, feeling the weight of responsibility balanced by the sense of agency. The words would be used to prevent the same injustice from happening again. In that moment, he understood the dual nature of justice. It could never erase harm entirely, but it could illuminate the path forward, protecting those who would follow. That evening, Malik sat in his room, reviewing messages, emails, and recorded audio one last time. Each artifact carried its own memory. The fear, the anger, the isolation, but also the resilience. He realized that evidence was more than proof. It was protection. It was power reclaimed from a system designed to silence. Denise appeared at the door, hands on her hips. "You look like you're carrying the weight of the world." "Maybe I am," Malik said, "but at least it's mine now." She smiled. "And you carried it with integrity. That matters more than any zero, any note, any whispered doubt." Malik exhaled and closed his eyes. The journey was far from over. Some consequences, fear, trauma, the time lost would remain, but for the first time, he felt seen, recognized, validated. He understood that poetic justice didn't always arrive as dramatic collapse or public humiliation. Sometimes it came quietly, a teacher removed, a note erased, the truth recorded, and a voice restored. The abuser might not be humiliated in front of a crowd, but their power, carefully wielded, unquestioned for years, had been disrupted. Malik leaned back, looking out the window at the fading sunlight. The storm had passed, but the air was still charged, alive with potential. And Malik knew he would carry that lesson with him always. Justice is not perfection. Justice is visibility, accountability, and the courage to demand both, no matter the cost. Outside, the school stood silent, unaware that its foundations had shifted, and that those who had been silenced had found a voice strong enough to echo far beyond its walls. Inside, Malik sat with the weight lifted just enough to breathe, ready to face what came next, not as a victim, but as someone who had claimed agency in a world that had tried to take it from him. The day the district released the final findings, Malik felt a mixture of relief and disbelief. The long-awaited report sat in his inbox, its formal language betraying nothing of the emotional toll, yet the conclusions were unmistakable. Ms. Hartwell had been removed from the classroom, pending disciplinary action. Administrators who had allowed his zero to linger, without due process, had been formally reprimanded. Malik's grade was restored, the note in his file officially expunged, and scholarship committees were notified of the correction. Denise read the report aloud at the kitchen table, her voice steady but trembling with suppressed frustration. "They've acknowledged procedural failures and promised adherence to policy in the future," she said. "Not exactly justice, but it's accountability." Malik exhaled slowly. The past months felt heavier than any academic challenge he had faced. The zero, the whispered rumors, the threats, all of it had left marks that a letter or a reprimand couldn't erase. "It's something," he admitted, "but it doesn't erase the damage." Denise nodded. "No, it doesn't, but it prevents it from happening to the next student. That's why this matters." At school, whispers followed him differently now. Students gave quiet nods of support. Teachers avoided looking away, and even those who had ignored him before seemed hesitant to cross his path. The The 0 on his essay no longer defined him. The evidence he and Ava had collected, the recordings, the emails, the testimonies, had reclaimed control of the narrative. Ava met him after school, carrying a folder full of notes. "They didn't publicly recognize me for my role," she said quietly, "but we both know what we did mattered." Malik smiled, a weight lifting from his chest. "You're right. It's not about recognition. It's about changing the story." Denise added, "Sometimes change comes quietly. Sometimes it's measured. But the foundation shifts whether they like it or not." Andre, the student Malik had connected with, called that evening. His voice carried the weariness of someone who had endured the same pattern years ago. "I wish I had done what you did," Andre said. "I stayed quiet. You made them listen." Malik swallowed. "I couldn't have done it alone." "No," Andre agreed. "It was a collective effort. Your voice amplified everyone else's." The next week, Malik received an invitation to speak at a district training session on equity and bias in the classroom. The offer was careful, almost reluctant, but it was recognition, proof that his experience was being used to prevent similar injustices in the future. Malik hesitated. "I don't want to speak for everyone," he said to Denise. "You'll speak for the truth," she replied firmly. "That's enough." Standing in front of the district staff and fellow students weeks later, Malik felt the weight of the 0, the whispers, the intimidation dissolve slightly. Each word he spoke was a declaration. That bias could be documented, that evidence could hold power, that silence could be broken. Outside, the school continued its routines. Ms. Hartwell had been reassigned to administrative work, pending her discipline, a quiet but visible consequence. Her authority over students no longer went unchecked. The administration had learned, at least in part, that bias carried weight, and that patterns repeated over years could no longer be hidden behind polite words or procedural jargon. Malik's scholarship letters arrived, corrected and supportive. Leadership positions were reinstated. Even the hallways, once narrow with suspicion and whispers, now carried a subtle current of respect. Students and teachers alike had witnessed accountability in action, but the journey had left its scars. Malik still flinched at sharp tones and sideways glances. He still felt the echo of Ms. Hartwell's words, even as they had lost their power. Trauma didn't vanish with policy corrections or restored grades. That evening, Malik sat by his window, looking out at the quiet school grounds. The air felt charged, alive with potential. He reflected on everything that happened. The recordings, the emails, Andre's story, Ava's courage, his mother's unwavering advocacy. Each act of resistance had contributed to this moment. Each voice mattered. Denise appeared at the doorway. "You look different," she said softly. Malik turned to her. "I feel stronger, not because everything is fixed, but because it's visible, because what they try to hide is now in the open. That's the real victory," Denise said. "Not punishment, not revenge, but truth, recognition, accountability. The system can no longer ignore it." Malik nodded. "It's poetic in a way. Justice isn't always dramatic. It's not always public shaming. Sometimes it's quiet, measured, effective." "Yes," Denise said, "and lasting. That's what matters." Malik reflected on his journey. The public humiliation, the isolation, the pressure campaign, the recordings, the advocacy, and the board meeting. Each step had been painful, but each step had built resilience. He realized justice could be imperfect but still meaningful. Exposure, accountability, and the reclamation of agency were victories in their own right. Outside, the night was still, but the world felt shifted. Malik understood that change was never complete, never absolute, but it was now inevitable. He reclaimed his narrative, protected his peers, and created space for others to speak. He closed his eyes, feeling the weight of months of fear and struggle lift just enough to breathe. The storm had passed, leaving behind clarity. Poetic justice had arrived, not in fireworks, but in visibility, accountability, and the courage to demand both. Malik had survived, endured, and changed the system, even if just a little. And as he lay back, he understood one truth clearly. The abuser's power only exists when silence is allowed. Malik would never be silent again. Word count, 900. Chapter 10900 word. Chapter 10, The Cost of Truth. The The weeks after the district's final action were quieter, but quieter didn't mean easy. Malik walked the hallways with his head held high, yet each step reminded him of the months he had spent under scrutiny. The zero, the whispers, the files, and the threats. Change had arrived, but the emotional residue lingered like a shadow he couldn't shake.